tightly conditioned.
Cilantro. I had cilantro when I went to my mother never put it in. Supposed to be here.
I will officially call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Yep, still 7 p.m. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That moment of silence, please. Okay, everybody, thank you. And I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is also being streamed live to the Carroll Media Center's YouTube channel, as well as the town's Facebook page, and will be available for playback at your convenience. So let's begin with public comments. We have two members in the gallery, one of which is a staff member and one of which has not signed up for comments. Okay, so we'll skip public comments and we will move on to the first item of our agenda, the consent agenda, in fact, which includes only one item this week, the minutes from April 24, 2023. I reviewed and had no amendments or requests for changes. Everyone good?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
We'll do the motion first by Councilmember Grassley and second by
I'm trying to help you move. You wanted to move?
Yes, this is our moment to shine and break a time threshold. So, and it's seconded by Councilmember Dyer. All in favor? Aye. And the,
I'm going to abstain.
yes, I was just going to.
I was not here. I was in training for my work that meeting, and I've been under the weather the last few days, and so I haven't had a chance to do the replay.
Well, that's absolutely
I
fine.
read
and
through the
appreciate
minutes,
the
but-
abstention. Sure thing. Okay, so we have 6 in favor of the approving the minutes from April 24 and 1 abstention. The minutes are approved. First item of unfinished business is a public hearing and to consider discuss fiscal year 2024 tax rate, which is the proposed rate is because the proposed rate is higher than the constant yield rate. I'll just give a super fast summary and I'll turn this over to Joe. The information related to the fiscal year 2024 Sykesville operating and capital budget and proposed tax rate have been provided to everyone here at the council. They're available online for public view. As we mentioned on April 10th, the tax rate for the coming fiscal year will remain at the current level, which is 33 cents per $100 of assessed value. And it is because this is a higher rate than the constant yield rate that we are required to not only announce this, but also hold a public hearing this evening prior to the adoption of the tax rate. Anything else on that matter, Joe?
Only to say that the constant yield rate was recommended at 31.68 cents. So we're talking, cent and a half, give or take.
Okay, thank you. And we will discuss more details about the budget as needed in just a moment. Let us ask if anyone has a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing on the FY 2024 tax rate.
Thank you. And
Second.
Councilman Grassley, thank you. And Councilmember Schofield with the second. All in favor of opening the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open at 7:04. And I have a strong suspicion that the same 2 people in the gallery that didn't sign up for public comment may or may not probably have anything to add for us.
Any emails?
No emails. I did receive one phone call from an interested resident who really just wanted some information on the budget process, but that was pretty much it.
Okay.
He was invited to come tonight, but
Good. Well, you must have appeased all of his questions. Fantastic.
I can only hope.
Wonderful.
Motion to close the public hearing on the 2024 tax rate.
Thank you, Councilman Grassley.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Schofield. All in favor of closing the public hearing on the tax rate for 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
And that's everyone. We are now closing the public hearing at 7:05. Moving on to item number 2 of unfinished business. We are about to have a public hearing and then consider and discuss and most likely act upon ordinance number 2023-02, which is an ordinance to adopt and approve the annual budget and set tax rates for the town of Sykesville, Maryland for fiscal year 2023-2024. Does any of the council members have questions or requests for clarification? This too was presented to us introduced on April 10th. Any questions for staff?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment that I want to make as a general public announcement.
Okay.
That our tax rate of 0.33 per $100 assessed value did not go up for the last several years. So even though we have to make this public, we did not increase your taxes.
Thank you, Council President Carter, for the clarification. It's funny that some things are implied for some and not for others, and that's a very important announcement, so thank you for making it.
One other thing that I'd like to just raise is
Besides the taxes.
no. Actually, it's counter to that. And it has to do with something that Councilmember Guroff mentioned during the April discussions that we had, is that I'd love to be able to tickle a discussion. So have a discussion in the September-ish time frame, October time frame, where we could talk about the tax rate moving forward, and we could do a live debate in reference to what that looks like as we start to plan for the 2025 budget. That's what I think you had raised before, is give it ample time in advance of the discussions that normally happen in the March, April time frame. So we could just kind of get it out there and talk about what do we need to do moving forward with all the different initiatives that we're having. And that would kind of set the stage for a working session that we could have in the normal time frame, January, February time frame, for what's available. So I'd ask that we would put that on an agenda down the road a little ways. I don't know if others are open to that.
Oh, I think it makes good sense. It's good for us and good for the public if they'd like to participate, for sure.
Yeah, I resisted the idea of lowering it now, but I'm all about lowering it in general. I think that would be a great way to be sure we're ready to lower it next year, and I think that's a wonderful idea.
Very good. Thank you.
And I don't know if lowering it or keeping it the same or whatever, like, I don't know what the answer is. I just want to have a robust discussion around the topic, so that we can do it and not be in a pressure cooker of needing to get the budget passed as we move forward. So that was the pitch.
And this budget, as last year's budget and several before, are balanced, and we are long-term debt-free, and so I think it'd be great for us to talk dollars and cents this fall.
Right.
Duly noted. Thank you, Councilmember Schofield. Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, so that brings us to the time where I would ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 2023-02, budget and tax rate.
Do we have to have a public comment before we adopt it? Or
This
is there two public comments, one on the tax rate and one's on the budget?
We do need to open up the public hearing, which is exactly what I have next on my little screen here, and I seem to scroll right over it. I got so excited about our plans for next fall.
I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
open public hearing for ordinance number 2023-02.
Thank you, Councilmember Grassley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Dyer. All in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we open this public hearing at 7:08. And this is specifically and generally all at one time about the budget itself, which is inclusive of the tax rate for 2023-24.
Any email, Joe? Motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2023-02.
Perfect timing. It's already turned 7:09. Do I have a second? Okay. So we have a first to close and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing closes at 7:09. Now we get to the part where any of us get a chance to debate this further if necessary. Any comments or needs for debate amongst us? I'm not surprised.
Not necessarily a debate. I just want to say it again, and I bring up a comment that Councilmember Keenan has brought up before. It is a wonderful process that we're able to go through the budget the way that we've been able to go through it, and it wasn't always like that. And you've mentioned that in the past, it was much tougher, and we even had to look at only sending a small amount of money to save in the fire department. And now we're in a much healthier place. I just want to comment on that, and that's because a lot of work that all of you have done, and then people even before us. So that's great.
Back at you. Thank you, Council Member Schofield.
Yeah, I think the documents you got up on the webpage are awesome too with the comparison. That's really helpful for anybody that has questions.
They really are.
To see what we're doing with the money, so appreciate that.
It's like complete transparency.
Yep.
The way it's written too is it's not a number of charts and spreadsheets and having to scroll up to see what column you're still on. It's written in a very concise and very transparent way. And if I'm appreciative of it, I'm sure anyone that reads it is. So
It's just hard to find under the ordinance.
yes,
But I think that's going to get taken care of.
yes.
We'll get that fixed after tonight. We'll put it under the budget document.
There you go. That'd be good.
Yes, we'll move it from this evening's documents for the meeting to the budget documents online, and they'll be available with just 2 or 4 clicks. And then hopefully when we update our website.
It'll be front and center.
Our new website goes live very soon, and it'll just be bam right there, whatever you want. Actually, you don't have to click; you just look at it and it pops up.
Intuitive website.
Yeah, it's that intuitive. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance 2023-02.
Thank you. Budget and tax rate as presented. Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a first by Council Member Grassley and a second by Council President Carter. All in favor, as the motion on the table is to approve ordinance number 2023-02, an ordinance to adopt the annual budget and set tax rates for the town of Sykesville, Maryland for fiscal year 2023-2024. As I mentioned, has been made by Councilman Grassley and seconded by Council President Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
And that didn't look like it was not unanimous. Any opposed? Here we go. The budget for 2023 is adopted. Thank you, unanimously. Okay, that brings us to announcements and reports. I will announce that the next meeting for the mayor and town council will be a special meeting a week from this evening on Monday, May 15th, where I will swear in the 3 individuals to my left who have bravely gone where they've gone once, 3 times before, and that would be Council Member Schofield, Council Member Dyer, and Council President Carter. And that happens again a week from this evening here at 7 o'clock on the 15th. After that, our next regular meeting of the Mayor and Town Council is the following Monday, 2 weeks from tonight, on Monday the 22nd, 2023. I'd like to announce that we have volunteer opportunities available on the Historic District Commission and Police Auxiliary. Interested parties, please send an email to town@sykesville.net for more information. Staff updates are next. I'm going to turn it over to Joe for an announcement of the election results. I kind of just did that for you.
We do have to show the actual vote totals,
Yes.
so again, we want to congratulate the 3 newly re-elected members of council. I also want to mention we did have 4 write-in votes, only 1 for an actual person. So Jane Merkler did get a single write-in vote. We also had the chucksters out there with Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Donald Duck.
Yeah, they each got one of those.
Like I said, it was a diverse write-in.
That said, we did actually get 1 person that voted no choice, which was interesting.
It is interesting.
What's the total voter roll again?
The number of registered voters?
Registered voters.
I want to say it's a little over 3,000. I want to say it's like 3,100 or so. We had a total of 91 show up to vote on election day. So
91, period.
total.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I guess you're right. It's 90 on election day and then
Yeah.
1 mail-in vote.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have been talking about this for quite some time, prior to and after the election, and the low voter turnout either indicates that everyone is incredibly satisfied and content, and the weather was crappy, but we also had 3 uncontested, championed and well-proven, well-seasoned as well, some more than others.
Thank you. I like the word seasoned. I appreciate that.
Candidates. So again, I do want to stress that just because there was a low turnout this election season in 2 years, I don't want anyone to become complacent. So it's very important to participate in your local government process. Probably just as much, if not more, important than state and federal elections.
Could I just say a word on that? So I was recently at an event where a Tennessee state congressperson was speaking with a student from a prestigious university, and they talked about elections occurring in the normal cycle every 2 years, and our election doesn't happen in that same sort of cadence. I just want to say publicly that I appreciate the efforts of the Carroll County Media Center for getting out the word about the different elections happening in our communities throughout our entire county, and for Carroll County Times for doing the same sort of thing to get that word out there. I also think it's really important for anyone who's watching to have a conversation with your family and with your sphere of community so that people are aware that elections can happen not just during the November timeframe, but it can happen in May, like ours. And for folks to be aware of those sort of things. When I was going door to door, I didn't make it to every home in the town, but I made it to a lot. Not everyone knew that we were doing this sort of thing, or that we even had a town council. And so it's one of those sort of things where, for those of you that are out there, just getting the word out to your local citizenry, I think is really important. There's a new group of young people that are starting to emerge into political arena, and I advocated to the people that were speaking, and I would advocate just here publicly. It's really important to know when you have to put in your nominations, when you need to, when the voting happens, what we're doing, and it would be great, and I just look at anyone who's watching, to see more people sitting in the seats and learning about our processes. And if you're not here, it's fine to watch it on a virtual channel, but I'll just throw it out there that being involved in this civic process is very meaningful in our town. So I just throw it out there. I'll get off my little grandstanding in reference to it, but a lot of people that potential leaders in the future in this little thing I was at, they're all talking a nice game, and it'd be really nice to actually see them engaged.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you. Okay. So that brings us to any further updates from.
Only a few, mainly related, really all related to the water and sewer work that's continuing. So Springfield Avenue, again, ongoing, plodding away on Springfield. They hope to finish up the sewer side of things by the end of this month, and then they'll, of course, start on the water improvements along Springfield Avenue. Again, I like to keep bringing that up just because there are going to be main line diversions for the water line, so you actually see, storage water lines a little bit there along Springfield. So again, just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Also, speaking of Springfield, because that project is not likely to be done until the September timeframe, we had previously reported, because again, that's what the state was hoping for, that they were bidding their stormwater effort, and that was going to be due here in May, and then with a July start date. But they've actually pushed that bid date until June, so it'll be June 15th if the bids aren't even due yet.
Okay.
So that likely that start date's probably pushed out a little bit as well.
Okay.
And we do have a meeting coming up with State Highway, so we hope to get a more succinct update on when they hope to start that project.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So just for clarity, does that mean that Springfield will not be not bumpy through the fall, most likely? Is that what we're talking about?
I would say it's going to be bumpy for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the hope was by the July 4th parade that
Yeah.
some of this work would be done and the roads would be smoother. And so I just so the public is aware, not soon.
The goal is one side of the road might not be, but we'll see.
Everybody stay to one side of the car.
Pay attention to the flagging operation.
Yes.
That said, just talking about Central Avenue and how it ties in eventually to the state project, the town does have an approved Central Avenue project now, so it has gone through all the review processes, and we have gotten official sign off on that. However, obviously, we're not going to start that project until the state starts theirs on Central. With regard to Main Street, we do have an update this Thursday, so we have our standard monthly update meeting this coming Thursday. I will say publicly for the first time, I think our June date is likely to be pushed back. I'll get more information. I'll make sure I share that with council on Thursday, but they're still running into issues on the south end of town with that lining effort that had happened. I'm not so sure they've actually figured out exactly how they're going to fix that issue. They've hit some rock in a storm culvert on the north side, and then there was a contaminated soil issue kind of right there in between. So with all these things starting to pile up, I think it's aggressive now to say that June they're going to be done. But like I said, on Thursday, we'll have our regular monthly update, and I'll make sure I send out as much information as I get out of that meeting to council, and then we'll make that publicly available as well.
So I'm hearing ATVs for July 4th.
Yes.
Four-wheel drive only.
Yeah.
Likely gonna be the
And
issue.
just for the public's edification, the contaminated soil thing is very contained and in close proximity to where it was once a gas station on Main Street on the corner of Main and Sandusky. And so a gas tank continues to be underground. I don't know anything more than that, but there's some contaminated soil, but I don't believe it was an active leak.
No, it's nothing like that. It's just how do they deal with running into that same area that people knew about.
Thank you.
I should know this. The underneath Main, are we also trying to tackle sewage lines there as well?
Yeah, so Main Street was still water and sewer. So when we refer to any kind of lining issue, that's the sewer repair that was going on.
And is that going into that really deep manhole as well?
Yep.
And do we know if that? I'm thinking about the project across the bridge, the cannery building. Is that manhole going to be deep enough where it's actually completely underneath the river?
No. So
not that deep.
Right. No.
Okay.
So anything that would happen across the river would require some sort of pumping station on the south side to pump it back over. Maybe not so much on the water side of things, but
Okay.
Joe, just for clarification, because you had mentioned Springfield was by state, I was under the impression that Springfield is being overseen by the county.
the water and sewer operation is definitely the county. The stormwater is the state issue.
Okay, so the state does stormwater on Springfield and on Main.
Well, they would, but there's no stormwater improvements planned for Main Street.
Okay,
Like the stormwater system on Main Street is, for all intents and purposes, where it needs to be. This is
Okay.
the Springfield Avenue equipment is, barely equipment anymore. So
okay,
they're actually replacing what is currently there, but then they're also extending it all the way up Springfield Avenue to Central.
So what's the distinction between storm water and sewer water?
Sewer comes out of the house, stormwater falls from the sky.
Yeah, but I got that far. But I thought eventually they all go into the same.
They do not. No.
They do not.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have separate stormwater systems. So
Okay.
all of the stormwater actually just goes right into Tapster River. The sewer goes to the pumping station right beside the Vine and now the DSC building, and then gets pumped to the treatment facility off of Raincliff Road.
So the manholes go to the sewer system and the side ones. So manholes can go to both.
Yeah, I mean there's sewer manholes and there's stormwater manholes.
Okay.
Anytime there's a change of direction in any of the pipes, you need a manhole there. Water
Okay.
doesn't necessarily have to do it like that, but sewer and stormwater does.
There was a time when everything went to the river,
I'm sure.
a long time ago.
Back in the day. The only other thing I had was just to talk about, because I mentioned the stormwater project on Central Avenue, the Norwood Avenue stormwater project that we have is also recently approved. So again, we have all of our approvals for that. Obviously, we're not going to kick that project off until we can coordinate better with the church and the ongoing work along Main Street. So again, we have that in next fiscal year's budget that was recently approved. So certainly within next fiscal year, we'll actually knock out both of those projects.
That'll be great. It's a long time coming.
Yes.
And I know there's more than a handful of residents that will be hopefully very pleased when it's finally taken care of.
Keep our fingers crossed.
and the Norwood project had two issues. One was Church Street, one was north of Church Street, and this one is gonna be south of Church Street.
Yeah,
So it's two separate
So the
projects.
infrastructure that we're actually going to install is actually coming down off, and I can never remember the name of that private drive that goes up Norwood Avenue.
Norwood Avenue.
But it basically comes right into the back of the church. And if you ever see a rain event, you can see the let's just call it debris coming down off that hillside, and it clogs up the drain on Church Street. So again, the idea being, there it is. So the idea being, if we can capture it earlier and get it into the stormwater system, it won't clog up the drain on Church Street and cause the flooding as it did a few years ago.
Yeah, coming from far away from where the actual problem is presenting itself, and showing itself, yeah.
Well, and originally we thought it was on the north side of Norwood Avenue or north side of Church Street where all that debris was coming from, but it's actually the south side.
Amazing.
Water runs downhill.
Yeah.
Everything does. So that gets us to if you're finished, Joe?
I'm done.
Thank you, sir. That's helpful. Our public safety report, please, Chief. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. You're welcome.
Evening, everyone. Not used to not following Craig, but I guess we did. You get a break tonight.
Got a reprieve today.
All right. Enjoy it.
Got a week, 2 weeks.
Okay. This public safety report will cover the period April 15th through May 1st. As you can see, we had a total of 521 events. Just some of the highlights: 13 assist other agency, 12 community policing, so they are continuing their community policing efforts. 18 foot patrols, 269 patrol checks, and 31 traffic enforcement initiatives. We also handled 13 incident reports during that time frame. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you would have.
I don't have a report open in front of me, but they're two consecutive, I believe, maybe split up with one in between for the theft under $100 on Main Street, if you could share that with the public.
Of course. Yeah, it was an excellent job by Corporal Slaris, actually, while conducting community policing efforts on Main Street. Happened to speak to two different downtown merchants who both mentioned that they had had either an attempted theft or a theft several weeks prior to Corporal Slaris' visit. So he took a report and is going to certainly do what he can to try to follow up on those reports, those investigations. But again, it helps us if these reports are made timely, and I would encourage any of the downtown merchants to, if there is a theft or even an attempted theft, to call us right away and let us come down and collect the evidence and speak to witnesses and things of that nature. It would be make our job a little easier. But in any event, we'll still do the best we can to follow up on those and check for video evidence and see what we can do to identify the persons. We believe there were juveniles in both cases. Don't know if they were related. They were different, not on the same day. One involved two juveniles and one involved 3. So it's hard to say if they were related, but we certainly will follow up on that.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
Chief, report 90, the welfare, and then was that natural causes or was that?
It was.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Not good. But.
PFC Young did an excellent job with some help from Sergeant Lacey and others to fully document that scene.
Okay. Excellent.
I'd say you have too many incoming and outgoing people
I
at your
believe
home.
I'll be told to break habit.
Well, that's a great segue.
Well, I've never been able to.
I would encourage everyone to have Ring cameras. Just turn them on.
there you go.
Turn them on silent during meetings.
If you could figure out how to silence them, that would be great.
They are a great tool to have. Any other questions? I just wanted to mention real briefly the Art and Wine. I'm sure Leo will speak about it later, but I thought it went well. We had excellent weather and no major incidents to speak of. There was a couple parking violations that we handled at the beginning of the event and throughout the event, but nothing out of the ordinary. So kudos to Downtown Sykesville Connection and the volunteers as well as our staff on a job well done.
Thank you, Chief.
Couple of say again?
It was a joyous day.
It was.
A lot of fun.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it joyous, but yeah. A couple of training updates. We've had several people that we were fortunate to send to some very good training lately. As you know, Sergeant Kirkner is in the Northwestern School of Police and Command, and he actually graduates on May 19th. So that'll be an excellent occasion to celebrate his 10 weeks of training, and I will be able to then rely on the Lieutenant and Sergeant Kirkner for advice and recommendations on a whole variety of things. So it was good that Jason participated in that class. Speaking of Lieutenant Kilgore, he just completed a 1-week first line administrator school last week. Again, excellent training, and we certainly do what we can to afford our officers the opportunity to go to training so they can better themselves and gain more knowledge and experience, and hopefully the town will see the dividends there in that. May 15th is the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce Awards event. I believe several of you are attending. I think you'll be very, very happy to see that 2 of our members will be recognized for some efforts that you've been aware of in the past, but I think it's excellent recognition for them, Lieutenant Kilgore and Sergeant Kirkner. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be a great occasion for our officers as well as for the town. So good stuff. And that's all I have.
Make sure that gets shared on your Facebook page.
Oh, absolutely.
I like to brag
Absolutely.
about our men and
Yes.
women.
As do I. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I wear my Schofield hat since he's not here.
Okay.
Thank you for all the community.
I thought for sure you were gonna ask a question.
No, if it would be me, I'd ask a question. With him, he makes the comment about unspeed policing. I'm just doing his job.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, without a treasurer's report this evening, that brings us to the conclusion of our staff updates. Do we have any council and/or committee liaison reports to share?
Just briefly from the DSC, the Art and Wine Festival was a great hit. Perfect weather for the first time in about 5 years, so that was nice to see. And I just want to thank all the volunteers. We had a great group of volunteers all day long. And as always, the police, the auxiliary, and public works, huge help throughout the day. It was great.
Well, and then I'm going to give a shout out to Leo, who, as usual, volunteered all day long. And Council President Carter was there with us. And it is exactly what I love most about our community is the opportunity to interface with everyone, especially when everybody's happy. So I enjoyed myself, and I saw everyone doing the same. So no, there's no air quotes there. Councilmember Dyer. I actually enjoyed myself.
I thought that might be a euphemism for another altered statement.
No, it wasn't at all. It truly wasn't this time. Anyone else here on my right?
No, but I do want to point out, I I can't make either the May 15th meeting or the May 22nd meeting. So
Okay.
for May 15th, for just the swearing in, congratulations to the three of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo, for that.
You'll be there in spirit.
Yes.
Leo actually was the only one to be here for my first swearing in because I had to do it separately from the other two council members back in 2013 because I was out of town celebrating my honeymoon. And so I came back late to get sworn in for the first meeting, and Leo was there for it. So it's fine. It's okay that you're going to miss this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else here on my right side?
So just a reminder, we're coming up on the movies and music in the park.
Yes.
And we don't have any more details yet on the skateboard competition, but as those come out, it's in the fall, so we have time.
Exciting. Something new.
Yeah. And then an update, I know I was asked last time about like agendas as I start to get into Leadership Maryland, so I have a little more information on that. We met a couple weeks ago in Ocean City. We've got a great team. We are divided into regions, Carroll County being part of the Western region, if you can believe it. And part of our responsibility in that is actually educating about our region. So I've been in touch with Julie about bringing some information in on the main streets and some of our merchants as well to kind of, we asked Julie to give us information about Carroll County, and then we'll also be putting some of our own main street stuff in there. And kind of dispelling some myths about Carroll County and things like that to the leaders, to our leadership group. Dispelling some myths. Well, I can tell you the fun one that I heard.
That everything flows into the river.
No, apparently there is a myth that Carroll County youth are known for vampirism.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah, that's what we all said. We were like,
Are they?
and no,
Please.
well, we did look it up and we found out it was more prevalent in Baltimore City. We found no connections to, Carroll County, but it was just interesting because everyone shared kind of their assumptions about different communities. And we will be, July is our time frame to present. So we have a whole economic report and things like that on it as well. But our next session is the end of this week in the southern regions, and it's also a focus on education. So we're going to be meeting at in St. Mary's County at their Career and Tech Center, and we will have a discussion with the St. Mary County Public School Superintendent, William Britt Kerwin, the author of the Kerwin Report. So also was saying to some of the members here, I know there have been some questions about it, about the report, about its implications, and about the impact in Carroll. So given that I'll have a front seat with the author. If there are things that we'd like to know or things you'd like me to follow up on, let me know. I can definitely take that. As well as Senator Ferguson, who is the Maryland Senate President. We'll also be visiting a nuclear power plant, as well as the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory for UMCES on the Eastern Shore, UMCES, yeah. And then learning about the Oyster Project and some of the economic renovation or economic revitalization programs down on the eastern or on the southern part. We're also going to be touring Patuxent River Naval Air Station to learn about their test pilots programs and some other things that they're doing down there, as well as, which I didn't realize we had in Southern Maryland, the Sotterley Plantation, which is a tidewater, the only tidewater plantation in Maryland. So that's the first focus. The second one in June, we're actually in Baltimore talking about health and human services and learning about the central region. So kind of a big of an overview. And as part of it, actually, one of our classmates is the new president of Salisbury University. And so as a result of that, I was actually Friday, I was in Salisbury for her inauguration and meeting with some of the people down in that area. So, yeah.
That sounds like a full plate.
Yeah, in 2 days.
Yes.
Yes.
A lot.
I read the agenda. I'm like, wait, what? We're up at 7 both mornings. So,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Anyone here on my left?
HDC met on April 26th. We had 3 applications, all 3 were approved.
Residential, commercial, a mix?
2 commercial down here on Main Street requesting outdoor seating.
Yes.
Both were approved for the
gangster.
thank you, I did
hot
hot
dogs.
dogs, and then for locomotive, and then we had a porch redo.
Thank you.
Well, porch renovation.
Okay. Thank you.
Planning Commission did not meet. However, I had one thing that I wanted to share that all the council members received on April 25th from BG&E. This is just information for the public. In 2022, the average number of interruptions experienced by customers was the fourth best in BGE's history. And in 2022, BGE invested $1.4 billion in infrastructure improvements, and since 2014, they've invested almost $16 billion in doing various types of improvements with gas and electric systems for their customers. And of course, we get served by them. And even though all this infrastructure is occurring, it's really important that folks stay vigilant for the summer season when you can have more outages occur. And they're recommending that you sign up for bge.com alerts and that you have bge.com outage map as a couple of favorites, and that you're storing bottled water and easy to prepare non-perishable foods. You keep your cell phones and mobile devices charged. Anyone that has a landline keeps a corded phone to report outages if cell phones lose power. Make sure you have flashlights with fresh batteries. And if you need refrigeration for things like medicine or other things, that you have alternative arrangements prepared. So just sort of a public announcement in reference to important things as we're getting ready for the summer season.
Good PSA. Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that listed on the BGE website?
I don't, probably. I didn't actually look on the BGE website. I imagine it probably is, but I wonder where you're going with this is to get a link on our Facebook page, maybe?
Or when you read over that, some people are like, wait a minute, what did he say again?
Yeah.
I would argue you go to FEMA, you'll get just as good, if not better, because they've been pushing this for decades, and it never hurts to look at the FEMA webpage, whether you're talking winter or summer, or just because you happen to be drifting down the internet. Look at what they say. Don't forget your, yeah, it's amazing to me how many people, when they lose power, say, I don't have anything.
Any of those things listed, yeah. Okay.
But before we go, I have to ask, do they think our children engage in vampirism as an affectation, or do they really think that the undead lives here?
It's the first.
Okay.
We'd never heard of it.
Sure.
And
we would have had a better turnout on election day if the undead actually lived here. So.
yeah, it was, and it was specific. It was the one thing specific to Carroll County, which was fascinating because
I'll give them something to talk about.
we're lumped into, out to Garrett County. So
Okie dokie. So this brings us to our last item, which is to actually inform the public that we are going to have a closed session this evening, and that this meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the General Provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B. And in this case, this evening, it is number 7 in that section, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. Specifically this evening, we will be consulting with our legal counsel to discuss the Warfield contract. I will ask that the public dismiss themselves so we can go into a 5-minute recess or less, depending how long it takes for us to gather ourselves up, and we will then go into closed session. Thank you.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.